My name is Claire, I am 42 years old, and I am a doctor in Marseille. This city, with its Mediterranean charm and vibrancy, has always attracted me. My husband Julien is a university professor and is 44 years old. We have two wonderful children, Lucas and Marion, who are our greatest pride. Everything seemed perfect, at least on the surface. Julien and I met at university nearly 20 years ago. He, a brilliant intellectual, captivated the audience with his passionate lectures on contemporary philosophy. I, a medical student, was fascinated by his eloquence and charisma. Our early days were idyllic, filled with passionate discussions, shared projects, and a rare complicity. We moved in together in Marseille, a vibrant city with 1,000 colors. Between the old port, the Basilica of Notre Dame de la Garde, and the Calanques, our love blossomed in this idyllic setting. Julien proposed to me during a boat ride at sunset. It was perfect, like a dream. Our wedding was sumptuous, surrounded by our families and friends. We said our vows on a terrace overlooking the sea, promising to support each other in good times and bad. And for years, we did. Our careers flourished, we had two wonderful children, Lucas and Marion, and our life seemed complete. But over time, routine set in. Julien became increasingly absorbed in his work, his research, and his conferences abroad. On my side, between hospital shifts, consultations, and managing the house, I often felt overwhelmed. We had become like two roommates sharing a space without really sharing our lives. The early years were idyllic. Our careers were taking off. Julien published articles and gave lectures around the world, while I devoted myself to my medical practice and research. We were a team, supporting each other in our ambitions. But gradually, distance set in. Julien spent more and more time at the university or traveling. His absences became more frequent and longer. I, on the other hand, was juggling work at the hospital, night shifts, and managing the house and children. Our conversations became rare, often limited to the logistical aspects of our daily life. Moments of intimacy became increasingly rare, and a certain coldness settled between us. I told myself it was a phase, that it would pass, but this distance weighed more and more on me. Our rare evenings together were often marked by a heavy silence, each of us lost in our thoughts and concerns. I nostalgically remembered our passionate discussions and our shared laughter. All that seemed to belong to a distant past. I tried to rekindle the flame by planning outings and family vacations, but Julien always seemed preoccupied and distant. His passion for his work took precedence over everything else, and I was getting lost in my responsibilities as a mother and doctor. It was during this period that I met Isabelle. She arrived at the hospital like a breath of fresh air. Always smiling and dynamic, she brought a positive energy to our team. We quickly became friends. She was younger, full of life, and had that something that made everyone immediately like her. We started spending time together outside of work. She helped me relax and think about something other than my daily worries. Our conversations were light and joyful, and I enjoyed her company. But I missed a crucial detail that would turn my life upside down. Isabelle and Julien had started seeing each other. Their affair apparently began at a party organized by the university to celebrate one of his academic achievements. Julien, charming and seductive as usual, had caught Isabelle's attention. What started as an innocent flirtation quickly turned into something much more serious. I hadn't noticed anything. Blinded by my own concerns, I didn't see the signs. Julien came home later and later, claiming meetings or last-minute emergencies. Isabelle, on the other hand, became strangely distant during our conversations. She avoided talking about her evenings and changed the subject whenever I mentioned Julien. I attributed it to fatigue and our busy schedules. It was on a particularly difficult evening that the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. Julien was once again away for a conference in Paris. The children were asleep, and I was trying to relax with a glass of wine. That's when my phone rang. A message from Isabelle, sent by mistake, clearly revealing their affair. She mentioned their latest romantic escapade and how much she looked forward to seeing him again. The shock was brutal. My hands trembled, my heart raced. I reread the message over and over, hoping to see some mistake, a misunderstanding. But the reality was there, cruel and inexorable. Julien, the man with whom I had shared so many years, was betraying me with someone I considered a friend. The pain of the betrayal was unbearable. I wanted to scream, to break everything. How could they do this to me? Why? The questions kept spinning in my head without finding answers. I felt trapped, suffocated by anxiety and rage. The next day, I confronted Julien. He came home tired and visibly stressed from his trip. As soon as he walked through the door, I showed him the message. His face turned pale, and he didn't deny it. His excuses and justifications only fueled my rage. How could he betray our family in this way? Julien tried to justify himself, talking about the routine, about the passion that had died between us. But nothing he said could ease my anger. Every word he spoke seemed to widen the gap between us. The days that followed were a nightmare. The children, too young to understand, still felt the palpable tension. Julien left the house, moving in with a friend, and I had to continue managing both work and home. But inside, I felt empty, betrayed, devastated. My colleagues at the hospital quickly noticed my state. Some whispered, speculated. News of our separation spread quickly, and the looks of pity or curiosity made me uncomfortable. I avoided Isabelle as much as possible. Her attempts at explanation and reconciliation disgusted me. How could she dare? Every time I saw her, it was like another stab in the heart. Seeing her continue to work as if nothing had happened, smiling at others, drove me crazy with rage. It took me a long time to rebuild myself. I consulted a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. The process was long and painful, but it allowed me to turn the page. I decided to focus on my career and my children. Lucas and Marion needed stability and guidance, and I had to be strong for them. The divorce procedures were long and challenging. Every step was a painful reminder of the betrayal and what we had lost. But little by little, I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I realized that this separation might be an opportunity to find myself, to rediscover who I was outside of my roles as a mother and wife. My work at the hospital became my lifeline. I doubled my efforts, took on research projects, and participated in conferences. Every professional success was a victory against the pain and betrayal. I also found comfort in my colleagues, friends, and family. Their unwavering support kept me going. Over time, the wound began to heal. I rediscovered forgotten passions, resumed activities I had neglected, reading, gardening, outings with my children. Every moment of happiness, no matter how small, was precious. Julien, on the other hand, continued his relationship with Isabelle. I rarely saw them during exchanges regarding the children. Their presence no longer hurt me, I saw them with indifference. They were part of my past, a closed chapter of my life. I even had to face their presence at some parental meetings at the children's school. Seeing Isabelle take a place in my children's lives was hard, but I learned to cope with this new reality. Today, I feel stronger, more accomplished. This ordeal taught me to know myself, to rediscover myself. I realized that I could be happy alone, that my worth didn't depend on a man or a relationship. My children are my priority, and every smile on their faces is my greatest reward. I also reconnected with my family and friends. Their support was invaluable during this time. We spent vacations together, weekends exploring the region, evenings talking and laughing. These moments were balm for my wounded heart. Professionally, I reached heights I never imagined. I was invited to give lectures and participate in innovative research. My work was recognized and appreciated, and that gave me immense satisfaction. I even considered writing a book about my personal and professional experiences. As for love, I wasn't in a hurry. I took the time to rebuild myself, to rediscover what made me happy. I had a few encounters, but nothing serious. I learned to appreciate my own company, to savor moments of solitude. Marseille, with its sunny climate and gentle lifestyle, was the perfect setting for this rebirth. Walks along the Corniche, swims in the Calanques, lively evenings at the Old Port, all contributed to my well-being. And then one day, I met someone. It wasn't planned or sought after. A colleague from the hospital, recently transferred from Paris. We started by talking about our shared passions, medicine of course, but also literature and music. Gradually, a bond developed. It wasn't the consuming passion of my youth but something softer, more mature. We took our time, without rushing. The children welcomed him well, which reassured me. It was important for me that they felt comfortable, that they accepted this new person in our life. Things evolved naturally, without conflict, and for the first time in a long time, I felt calm, at peace. Family dinners resumed their place with joyful discussions and laughter. I had found a certain normalcy, a balance. Years have passed, and I can say that I have found balance. The pain of betrayal has faded, replaced by resilience and renewed self-confidence. My marriage to Julien is part of the past, a painful but necessary lesson that allowed me to grow. Julien and Isabelle are still together, and I wish them the best without bitterness. They are part of my past but no longer define my present or future. I learned to forgive, not for them, but for me, to free myself from the weight of resentment. Today, my life is full of projects and prospects. I continue to work passionately, to get involved in causes close to my heart. My children are growing up happy and fulfilled, and I am proud of what we have become despite the trials. I also found time to engage in volunteer activities, helping others overcome their own difficulties. This brought me a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment that I had never felt before. Life is never simple, but it is full of surprises and twists. Every challenge, every difficulty is an opportunity to surpass oneself, to reinvent oneself. I learned to see things in a new light, to appreciate every moment, every small victory. And above all, I learned to love myself, to respect myself, to never accept less than what I deserve. This story of infidelity, as painful as it was, ultimately allowed me to free myself, to take back control of my life. In Marseille, under the Mediterranean sun, I found my inner peace. And with new determination, I continue to move forward, one day at a time, savoring every moment of this new life that I have built with my own hands.